ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. Okay. So we saw the example of Satyam and Mithya. Okay, gold ornaments, etc. Therefore, it is said Satyam Brahma. Satyam Brahma means Satyam Anantam Brahma. Brahman is a name, okay, given. And for that, how you define Brahman? Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Therefore, Satyam is Brahman, Jnanam is Brahman, Anantam is Brahman. Therefore, what is this Brahman that is Satyam? We saw it has to be Anantam Satyam that we saw. Okay. And that means we saw it from the standpoint of spatial limitations. It is Satyam. Similarly, time-wise limitations also. Abhaditam Satyam. Absolute Satyam is called Abhaditam. That which cannot be negated. You can negate all names and forms. At the end of it, what is left behind will be pure existence, non-negatable, and that is Brahman. That is limitlessness, that is non-different from the consciousness that we have been talking about yesterday. Therefore, Anantam Satyam, Abhaditam Satyam is Brahman. That which cannot be negated. That is why we could negate everything else, because Mithya can be negated. A delusion or an illusion will disappear completely on negation. Like the snake rope will disappear completely. Mirage water will disappear completely. The flat earth will not disappear. It is bhaditam only in your understanding. Because the experience of flat earth will continue. In other words, your experience is mithya. Because each experience is finite. Therefore, another experience negates it. That is why Vedanta is not presented as an experience. I sat down in samadhi, blissful. And when you opened your eyes, what happened? Miserable world. So, there I was blissful, here I am miserable. If it is both are experiences, one negates the other. What logic do you have to say one experience is more valid? Yes, you can say the perception of the rope is more valid than the perception of the snake, because the snake can be negated. But here it is two experiences, one experience of the world, one experience of samadhi. What can be negated? Both negate each other. Both negate each other. So how do you say one is more real? You can't. That's why we don't present it as an experience. Round earth is not presented as an experience. Flat earth is the experience, round earth is the understanding. Rising sun is the experience, the non-rising sun is the understanding. Therefore, jnanena bhaditam, by your knowledge you have negated it. Similarly, even after understanding your consciousness, you are the Satyam. Body, etc. is mithya. Why? It depends upon existence consciousness. Look at this body. Okay? From this body, it's a form of existence. As I said last class, it's a form of hydrocarbons only. Therefore, it can be reduced to pure existence. in your understanding. The truth of this body, the content of this body is nothing but pure existence. Therefore, the body is a name and form, mithya, for pure existence. Samji, you are calling you and me as mithya? No, I am calling your and mine bodies as mithya. Your satyam jnanam anantam. This body is mithya. But Samji, this body is awareful. Yes, that awareness, consciousness that you are, when it is manifest in the mind becomes awareful. Everything in the world manifests existence. Living, dead, inert, sentient, everything manifests. Existence is manifest in everything. Consciousness is also there, but not noticeable, not seen. This book is not conscious now. Thank God. Therefore, I can do what I want with it. If it is conscious, you will say, hey, don't write on me. Don't treat me like that. I am a sacred book. I am the Mahanarayana Upanishad. What are you talking about? Of course, I have a reply for that. I am the content of what you are talking. Okay. Now, this book was sentient once upon a time. When the book was a tree, it is conscious. So, what makes things sentient and insentient is only the presence or the non-presence of the mind. Mind is subtle matter, therefore consciousness can be manifest there. Body is gross matter, therefore will manifest consciousness only if the subtle mind is associated with it. Not otherwise. Just because it is not manifest doesn't mean it is not there. It's not seen, that is all. That is true, it is not seen. Therefore, this consciousness that we are talking about is Satyam. The whole world now is a dependent reality. Therefore, this form, this body, cannot walk through another form, the wall. But as consciousness, the consciousness is in and through this body. As existence consciousness, it is in and through this body, it is in and through the wall, it is in and through whatever is between also. The space that is there between both of us, that also exists in consciousness alone. Your mind exists in consciousness. What you call mind is nothing but thoughts. And the thought is nothing but a wave in the consciousness. In the ocean of consciousness that you are, the mind is just a wave. A group of waves. There is no independent existence. Therefore, neither your body, nor your mind, nor your knowledge, memories, personality, thoughts, feelings, emotions, not one of them exists apart from the consciousness you are. This is Satyam Brahman, Jnanam Brahman. Anantam Brahman you do not have to say because both the meaning is same. Brihatvat Brahma and Anantam also means the same thing. Therefore, this Brahman is what you are. We set out to understand Brahman, we ended up understanding ourselves. Isn't that what's happened? That Brahman cannot be separate from you, you cannot be separate from Brahman. In fact, you are that Brahman. But the Upanishad did not start like that. Because if it had started like that, he said, hey, I know who I am, okay? What you see is what you get, okay? Therefore, it was constrained to present it as Brahman, as though it is away from you, as though away. Therefore, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That's all that is there in the world, that's all that is to be understood. If that is really understood. To understand that Satyam Mithya has to be very important. I said that last time. Without Satyam Mithya, there is no Vedanta. That means I have to be able to understand that everything that I deal with, everything that I hold as dear, everything that I hold as sacred, everything that I hate, everything that I dislike is only an apparent entity. It's only a name and form of the consciousness that I am. Just a manifestation of the consciousness I am. Unless I see this very, very clearly, that this body, Mithya, though it can do a lot of things. It feels real. If anybody walks into my funch, it will feel very, very real. But that doesn't prevent it from being Mithya. Or the pain in my jaw from being Mithya, that's also Mithya. You think pain is real? How can pain be real when the body itself is Mithya? But I experience it. Correct, it's experiential. Our biggest problem is that we take experience as real. But the very pursuit of knowledge in any branch starts because you don't take experience, you question your experience. You don't take it as real. There would be no science if experience was taken as real. We would be still thinking Earth is flat. We meaning the Western world. There would be no inquiry into it. It's only when you doubt your experience can you seek knowledge. That means what? Your experience is false. Now within experience you will make true and false. That's okay. That's fine. Within your experience you can say, oh, some are valid experiences. That water is real, but the mirage water is not real. That is, you are making gradations in Mithya. That's okay. You can make gradations in Mithya. In fact, gradations can be made only in Mithya. It cannot be made in Satyam. Why? Satyam is limitlessness. How can you make gradations in limitlessness? You can't make gradations in limitlessness. Because all gradation implies a finitude. All gradations imply finitude. That means my relationships that I hold very important. Husband, wife, mother, child. Husband, wife, Mithya we know after 10 years of marriage. Okay. Mother and child. Sacred, important relationship. I am not taking anything away from the importance of this relationship, but understand it as Mithya. Because that's a very difficult relationship to understand as Mithya. Especially for the mother. For the father it may be a little easier. Not necessarily, but maybe. Because we have been brought up with all the social media images. The biggest dialogue in Hindi films, "Main maa hoon," that excuses you from anything. 40-year-old hulk of a man, this woman slaps him. "No, why did you hit me? मैं माँ हूँ." Nowadays we are saying you can't hit kids. It's considered abuse. But mom has the right. Mithya. That thinking is also mithya. Okay, even more mithya. The thinking is even more mithya. So when the mithyatvam is very, very clear, and there cannot, so where do you look for the satyam? Where the mithya is. Remember, where will you look for the satyam? If you are seeing a rope snake, where will you look for the rope? Where the snake is, na? Will you look for it somewhere else? That will be like that Nazaruddin Mullah. He is searching for the key under the lamppost in the night. And his friend walks in. Says, "Kya dhun raha? Oh, what are you looking for?" "My key." "You dropped it here?" "No, actually I dropped it on near the door, but there is no light, so I am searching where there is light." That is why the Upanishad says, "Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma." Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam. Who understands it in your Hridaya Guha, at the core of what you are, where the I is, what you take as I. Buddhi Guha is I. Hridaya Guha is I. There itself, where I have my mistaken notions of myself, I am this much only, I am like this only. It's glorified. मैं ऐसा क्यों हूँ, वैसा क्यों हूँ, business. Yeah. Some 25 years back, Lakshya. Yeah. Don't worry. The captains who led the charge at Kargil were far better characters than this guy. Okay. So, this I, where I am mistaken to be a samsari, finite guy, looking for fulfillment in life, finally decided that fulfillment is called moksha, free from all my sense of limitations. Therefore I am seeking it. And the Upanishad says, you come to the Upanishad, and the Upanishad says, Brahmavid apnoti param te tabi esha abhyuktaha satyam jnanam anantam brahma. For that there is this mantra. What is that? Satyam jnanam anantam brahma. And then he adds, yo veda nihitam guhayam. Who understands it as yourself. So ashnute sarvan kaman saha. That person is fulfilled. That person is a fulfilled being. That's why yesterday there was a lot of questions about Ananda. About Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, that Anantam being Ananda. Yes, when the limitlessness that you are manifests in your mind, that is called joy or happiness, and that is used to indicate your true nature as Ananda. Fullness itself is Ananda, limitless itself is Ananda. Like, let us take, just to bring in that point also well. This is my old example, I stick with it because it works. Here is a person going to work in the morning. His wife hands him a sheaf of papers. What is this? Please sign it. This is a divorce by mutual consent. Huh? What? I thought we had a great marriage. No, I've been very unhappy for the last 2 years. Please sign it. Can we at least talk about? There's nothing to talk. Don't discuss. Don't create a scene. Okay. Can we at least wait until I come back from work? I will not be here. Completely blindsided. Not expecting it. upset and angry, he goes to work. Personal life, he feels, is gone. Finito. He goes to work in that mood, picks up a fight with the boss. So the boss says, if that's how you feel, clear off your table today. You're getting 3 months wages. You don't even want your notice period. Professional life gone. Angry and upset, he is driving, meets with an accident. His sare sathi must be really bad. Meets with an accident, wakes up in the hospital. 2 broken ribs, 1 broken leg. Health also gone, for the few months at least. At that time, the Subhashitanand also say, for a sick person, the right medicine is a friend. His friend goes there to cheer him up. What cheer can you offer? Personal life gone, at least you can say professional life is there. You'll find somebody, this, that, etc. Some consolation you can do. Not the right thing, but at least some consolation you can do. Professional life gone, you can say at least personally you have somebody to support you, this, that, etc. No. You can. If both gone, hey, at least you're healthy and fit, yeah, you can build up everything again. That is also gone. Now what is left? He is lying on the hospital bed. So typical man, what will you do? I mean, what can you do? What can you say to make this feel? So as a typical man, he cracks a joke. Some PJ, he cracks. And this guy starts laughing. And laughing, his ribs are paining, but he's still laughing. Holding on to his ribs, he's laughing. Is there anything to laugh about in his life? His friend is hesitant to laugh because knowing the condition of this guy. But really, is there anything to laugh? But for that moment, he was happy. In that laughter, the divorce was not there, the loss of job was not there, the broken ribs were not there, nothing was there. There was only one joy. Where did it come from? Definitely not the outside world, everything is a mess. Not inside, everything is a mess there also. That joke gave him a mental clearance. It arrested the mind. The joke arrested the mind. And the fullness that you are, the limitless that you are, manifests in the mind as happiness. It can happen even on a Bombay road. The other day, मैं रास्ता पर जा रहा था, बेलपुरी नहीं खा रहा था, बस रास्ता पर जा रहा था, अकेले घूम रहा था. And suddenly near the golf course, the open sky and the full moon. Wow. Arrested mind, happy, Ananda. Actually speaking, I was thinking of 3 or 4 of my students who had a lot of issues in their life and thinking what way I can help them. But suddenly all they thought arrested, Ananda manifests. A gurgling baby manifests the Ananda that you are. That limitlessness, when it manifests in the mind, is what you call joy, Ananda, etc. Therefore, the word you, Ananda, like how the word Satyam, Chaitanyam, etc., is used to indicate the Atma, the word Ananda is also to indicate the Atma, that is Brahman. Atma meaning I, okay? Translation of Atma is not the self. Translation of the Atma is I. So this is where it is. So Ananda is not different from Limitlessness. In fact, any joy you get from anything in the world is nothing but that situation, that object is helping you manifest the ananda that you are. That's why Swami was saying yesterday, Panchadashikara, the last 5 chapters. Vishyanande Brahmananda. You think that object is giving you joy. What will give you joy? समझिए रसगुल्लास, बंगाली रसगुल्लास कुछ है ऐसा. So have a few, have a dozen. What will happen? Have 20. Then for the next 1 month I don't want to see it. Why? It gives you joy, na? It's like those old Hindi movies that you used to see, na? This man is visiting the girl in her house. So what would you like to eat? He says his favorite thing. She makes it. Then every day she is going there. And every day she is making the same thing for the next 6 months. What will happen? The law of diminishing returns. We think it is Vishyananda. It is actually helping you manifest the ananda that you are. Bhoganande and enjoyments, ananda that you are. Yoganande, the ananda that you are. You're sitting down, cessation of all thoughts, ananda that you are manifest. That's why sleep is so beloved for everyone. Why? In sleep there is no thinking, there is no projection, there is nothing. Only you are there, covered with a blanket of ignorance. Whether you are covering yourself with a blanket or not, the blanket of ignorance covering your mind. Anandoham. In music, Ananda, Brahmananda. Sports, Ananda, Brahmananda. Relationship, Ananda, Brahmananda. Whether the pleasure is sensual, pleasure is emotional, pleasure is intellectual. Intellectual pleasure, yeah. When you solve a problem, what joy you get out of it? This is intellectual. Or the joy of being of unconscious, like in deep sleep. In all of them, what is manifest is the ananda that you are, the fullness that you are, the limitless that you are. Manifests in the mind, you experience the joy. But that is vicarious. You are coming back to yourself through all those different things and momentarily. When you discover the fullness directly. So ashnute sarvan kaman saha, he says. He lives as though all his desires are fulfilled. As all desires literally being fulfilled? No way. No way. But as good as fulfilled. Why? You have a desire not for the sake of the desire. You have the desire so that you can be happy in the fulfillment of it. You hope to be happy in the fulfillment of it. You hope, can't be sure. Here directly you discover, I am that limitlessness. Now, if this cannot be fully understood, the Upanishad goes, any questions on this? Because I can go in half a dozen different ways from here. Which way I take will depend on whether there are questions and what type of questions. Is there any questions? Or is this much clear? Yeah? Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Correct. Yes. Correct. That's why it's constant. As long as you're asleep, it's constantly happy. Now, how do you know you're happy in deep sleep? The pleasure with which you go to sleep and the reluctance to get up shows that's a happy experience. If it is not happy, you wouldn't want to go into it. You'll try to avoid it. And if it was not happy, you wouldn't be reluctant to come out of it also. But we are both. We are happy to go into it, unhappy or reluctant to come out of it, which shows a happy experience. You know, when I was younger, much younger, more than 40 years ago. Yeah, 40 years ago. 40 years, 45 years. When I was a young sailor, I sailed around the world. Now there are some of these islands which survive only on tourism. And there is nothing much to see, it's just an island. What is there to see in that island? The beach and the sea. What else is there? Sand and sea. So as a city person, when you are going, sand and sea is interesting. So in these islands, there is always something or the other happening. Some carnival-like atmosphere, some festival here, something there, some entertainment goes on. And as young sailors, you're working. Either you're enjoying the nightlife there by working during the day, or enjoying what's happening during the day by doing night duty. So this goes on. And you go and enjoy. Why? Because you don't want to miss out anything, you know. So after work, you're rushing there. How long? 3 days. After that, hey, shall we go? Not today. I had enough of it. Let me sleep. You know, enough of the fun. You met that person waiting for you. It doesn't matter. Let the person wait. I want to sleep. So, it's a happy experience. Constant. That's why it's so nice. Blissful. Very blissful. Yeah. Exactly. Something that's not limited. But in sleep, it is not an excitement of happiness. Like when you are at a party, you are happy, but there is an excitement there. This is not like that. This is a constant, quiet flame of joy within you. That's it. I am Ananda. Something like deep sleep, something like being totally content. Totally be at peace with the world. You have settled accounts with the world, there is no accounts to be settled. Things can go your way, not go your way. You are fine. If you think something has to be done, you can do. You are fine. You need not do. You are fine. Yeah, this is, I'll give you the one of the finest examples of what I have seen on this was my grand guru, Swami Taranandagiri. I got a call from someone in Coimbatore ashram because Swami Taranandagiri was taken there for some medical treatment. And they told me, can you come down? I said, sure, what happened? No, Swami Taranandagiri requires some help. Pujya Swamiji is not there. Pujya Swamiji is in States, and you have spent some time with him, you understand him well. He may relate to you. So, can you come down? I said, yeah, but tell me what is wrong. Swami Taranandagiri is depressed. First I laughed when I heard that. Then I said, you're lucky I'm not there. I would have whacked you for saying that. Why? I said, why should he be depressed? He is Ananda. Why will he have anything? But he is exhibiting all signs of clinical depression. He is sitting in one place, not moving, not doing anything, not responding to anyone also. I said, idiot. Clinical depression is a psychological judgment, a judgment about the state of mind. You do not go into psychological reasoning unless you have ruled out everything physical. That is true. So, what is possible physical things that can cause this issue? I'm booking a ticket. As soon as I get it, I'll come there. I'll take a flight down. But in the meantime, rule out everything physical. So they took him to the hospital, did a scan, and they found the carotid artery that takes blood supply to the brain was blocked partially. This is a partial blockage. Haryanvi tha. Haryanvi background, okay, and his devotees will get all laddu, puri and nice ghee mein banaya hua stuff, and he would distribute it to everyone including us, and you also would enjoy it. You also would enjoy it. हाँ, 2-4 लड्डू तो आराम से खा सकते हैं. 2 to 4 laddus at one sitting, okay? He must have been in his late 70s or something at that time, okay? आराम से. So they gave him blood thinners, clot busting drugs, everything they gave him. And after some time, he was back to himself. So in the front of the others, I asked him, Swamiji, what happened to you? What happened? He says, ये बुद्धि काम नहीं कर रहा था. This buddhi was not working. Therefore, मस्त राम होके बैठ गया. I am seeing that my buddhi is not functioning, my instrument is not functioning. So what are you? Ananda. You will sit down as Ananda. Can you imagine that level of that man? Brain function he could objectify and say, not working. Therefore, brain function is not working. What can you do with the body? Nothing. Therefore, what do? Mast Ram hoke baith jao. Mast Ram Baba. Not that he was depressed. That is a stupid doctor saying that. No, naturally, the doctor is not expected to know this dimension of it. But this is the Ananda. Whether you are doing, not doing, whether you are talking to your beloved or riding into battle, Anando. Anando. Okay, one question has come up. Did he not have any physical discomfort? Probably he had. But can he not be Ananda with physical discomfort? You go to a lot of ladies present here. You go to a Zumba class. Okay, you go to a Zumba class. Come on, give me 20 repetitions. Oh, okay. Feel the burn. What feel the burn? Hands are not all aching, okay? You have been doing movements, hands are aching. Yes, yes, feel the burn. You are joyfully saying, yes. You are happy. You physically need discomfort. You are in physical discomfort, but you are happy. You are enjoying that. The class, the achievement, the company, the energy, all that is Ananda. Is consciousness an energy continuum? No. Energy is at the level of the mind, the Sukshma Sharira. In fact, it is between the mind and the body. Okay? Energy is between, what we call it prana. It's between the mind and the body. These things I will clarify more next weekend. Okay? When I'm dealing with Omkara. When I'm dealing with Omkara, I'll clarify it more. Okay? So, the consciousness is not even mind, is that which objectifies the mind, that which objectifies the body, that which objectifies your prana. No, without mind not only without mind there cannot be a desire for moksha. Without mind, without mind, there cannot be, not only mind, without mind plus ignorance of what you are, there cannot be a desire for moksha. If you already know the truth, you have a mind, but there is no desire for moksha. Why? You are already free. Therefore, it's only when both to good that ignorance is there, there is a desire for moksha. When you experience your sense of limitation, there is a desire for moksha. Okay. Now, balancing of duties, that question I'll answer in the satsang. Okay. Somebody had asked the question. Please remember to ask it in the satsang. Later in the evening, we'll answer that. Now, to make this idea a little easier or clearer, the same Upanishad says, Tasmad etasmat atmanaha akasha sambhutah. From the same Brahman, which is now the Atma. Upanishad uses the word Atma, not Brahman now. Tasmad etasmat. Tasmat, from that. Which is that? Etasmat, which I know as I, the Atma. Akasha adi sambhutah. Akasha, etc. must manifest. Now, why is it saying that? Of course, there are a lot of academic idiots who will say the Upanishad is indiscriminate in the use of Brahman and Atma. Brahman is for the totality, Atma is for the individual. It should have used the word Brahman, not Atma. But Upanishad thinkers were indiscriminate. This is the Taittiriya. And in the Taittiriya, it is not an indiscriminate usage. It's a very deliberate usage. Why? In understanding Brahman, you cannot understand Brahman unless you understand it yourself, the Atma. You are the Atma. Atma means I, as I said. Therefore, it is not an indiscriminate usage. It's a very deliberate usage. It's a deliberate usage so that you will understand now what? You already got that insight. Atma is Brahman, Brahman is Atma. Therefore, from this Brahmatma, okay, one of my Guru Bhais is called Brahmatma. Okay, from this Brahmatma, Akasha Sambhutaha, Akashad Vayor, Vayor Agni, Agni Apaha, Adbhya Prathivi. Meaning, there is a theory of creation. Why is there a theory of creation? We have just seen the whole creation as mithya. Just to make that mithya clear, we say everything has come from this Atma Brahman. And everything will be resolved into Atma Brahman. Everything is created from Atma Brahman, is not created, manifest from Atma Brahman. Everything will be resolved into Atma, that is Brahman. That means what? Everything is a manifestation of what I am. As I said earlier, I don't have to go through the wall. The wall is not different from me as existence awareness. I am in and through the wall as it is. At the level of body and mind, you and I are different. At the level of consciousness, there is only one. There is no I and you. You and I are one and the same. So, from the standpoint of the manifestation, from the standpoint of this universe, Atma Brahman gains a name called Ishvara. बोलता है ना, प्यार से मुझे धन्नो कहते हैं, ऐसा प्यार से ईश्वरा कहते हैं. ओके, प्यार से ब्रह्मन को प्यार से ईश्वरा. Because you want to take, these words are not separate entities. The words are only indicating standpoints. And the standpoint is there is a manifested universe. With respect to the manifested universe, Brahman gains a name called Ishvara. But Brahman cannot change to become the world. Correct. Brahman is timeless. Brahman is timeless. It cannot change to become the world. Therefore, the world is not a modification of Brahman. The world is only an appearance. Only appears as the world. Brahman appears as the world. There is no reality there other than Brahman. Other than me, the consciousness, there is no reality. That is why all the separateness can be negated. Body, mind, etc. can be negated only because it's not real. Otherwise, how can you say, I am not the body, etc.? By saying, ho jata hai. No. But it's an appearance, not real, you can say it. Saying is enough because saying is understanding. Saying can be without understanding also, but here saying is with understanding. Therefore, the negation is possible. Otherwise, how are you going to negate? So, the negation is an understanding the underlying reality. The moment you understand the reality, the appearance stands negated, even though it is there for your experience. Therefore, your experience. That's the beauty of it. You go all the way to Kanyakumari to see a sunrise and sunset. Something that is not there, okay? Let us say this scientist who knows very well there is neither sunrise nor sunset. He is a scientist, not an ordinary man. He goes to Kanyakumari. What a beautiful sunset. The sun dipping into the ocean. The riot of colors that is there. The fiery golden orb becoming dark red now. Blaze of crimson. All that. And beautiful. Maja aaya. It is worth this trip all the way to Kanyakumari. Who is saying that? The guy who knows there is neither sunrise nor sunset. He is a scientist, an astronomer to cap it, astrophysicist, let us say. He is an astrophysicist, one of a kind, who deals with planets and heavenly bodies. Heavenly bodies literally up there, okay? not local heavenly bodies, up there heavenly bodies. He deals with that every day. And he is saying, what a beautiful sunrise. Thank you, dear, for insisting on this truth. Turns to his wife and says, you can enjoy the mithya. But imagine if you are from a tribal culture who really thought the sun is setting. Every night you will pray, please, oh Lord, come tomorrow morning. You will be worried. कल नहीं आएगा तो क्या हो जाएगा? कल कैसा आ जाएगा? How will tomorrow come? Not when tomorrow comes. How will tomorrow comes? Because unless the sun comes up, where is tomorrow? This is our condition. We are living in fear, in a sense of finitude, because we take the experience as real, not understand the underlying reality behind it. So when you understand Ishvara, when you understand Brahman, there is no issue. And that same Brahman is presented as Ishvara. So that Karma Yoga, etc. is possible. Preparation of your mind is possible. All that is possible. Because you have to live a life until you get this. Your life continues. And there is very beautifully presented. He says, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, all that. And from the earth, Prithvi, earth, came plant life. The plant life became food, not animal life, okay? Food. It's plant. Food. And from that food came this body. The food that your parents ate and the food you eat came this body. Then he says, so this is the Purushaha, Annarasamayaha, a finite being now. Why? Because you take the body as I. Then he says there is another Atma, Anyantaratma, Pranamaya. You have an energy body. Another place where you say, I am high energy, low energy, etc. And if you are a yogi, you are dealing with energy all the time. At least you are supposed to. You are not supposed to be dealing with the body all the time. You are supposed to be dealing with the energy all the time. If to be a real yogi, you have to be dealing with the energy. Until the Pranamaya Sharira expands over the Annamaya Sharira. That's what yoga is about. Then it describes the Pranamaya to show it's a finite entity. Then it says Anyantaratma, Manomaya. Then it describes that also finite entity. Then it describes another, Vijnanamaya, your knowledge body. Your knowledge. Because I identified by myself with my knowledge. I am a scientist, I am a doctor, I am this, I am that, whatever. There is another, this thing, Anandamaya. You are unconscious, like in deep sleep when you experience nothing but joy. Then he doesn't say there is another Atma which is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. He doesn't say that. He says the basis for the whole thing is the Atma. Ananda is the basis for the whole thing, he says. Starts with Brahman, comes to the creation, comes to the individual, goes back to the core of what you are and says what? The Ananda is the basis, the limitless Brahman Atma is the basis for the whole thing. He doesn't present another Atma. If he had presented another Atma, you will think Atma is inside and all these koshas are around you. And Atma is somewhere lost inside. You have diagrams also. I have seen books with these type of diagrams. For a mass approach, it's okay. I would not do it. Because it gives a wrong idea. That's why the Upanishad doesn't say Anyantaratma, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Rupa. It doesn't say that. It says Brahma Pucham Pratishta. Brahman that we explained before, from where we said all this has come. That is the basis for everything. Therefore, that limitlessness is yourself. The whole creation is nothing but a manifestation of Brahman, of existence knowledge. That is why anything that you see is nothing but pure existence. Anything that you see is also nothing but solidification of knowledge. Consciousness manifest is knowledge. Huge banyan tree comes from a small seed. The seed is what? Smaller than a mustard seed, okay? That tiny. Huge tree, but mustard seed. That small little entity there, physical entity, has the genetic codification, the genetic code of the whole tree, that under these conditions, that seed will sprout. Under these conditions, the tree will grow. After so many years, the secondary roots will come down. It will last for 500 years. All that is genetically coded into the small little thing. In that almost microscopic stuff, there is genetic codification for the whole tree. What is that? But nothing but solidified knowledge. The seed is nothing but solidified knowledge. That's why it can manifest. It is like software manifesting the whole computer. You plug the software in and leave it, and after some time you will find the whole computer sitting there. 500-year history codified into the small little thing. And after so many years, the core will dry up, the main trunk will go, it will be sustained by the subsidiaries. Therefore, the secondary roots will become trunks. Well, that is also codified, given certain conditions. Ishvara's order at work. And what is Ishvara? A name given to Brahman. And what is the power of creation? You call the power of creation Maya Shakti. Therefore, Ishvara, Brahman is manifest through Maya, is Ishvara. Brahman looked upon through Maya is Ishvara, which is responsible for the whole creation. Why? Because Brahman itself doesn't change. It makes an appearance. What helps that appearance possible? Maya. So then Maya should be real. Maya is not real. By its very definition, Ya Ma Sa Maya. That which is not there is called Maya. The idea of Maya is brought in just so that people can understand what Brahman is. Because the creation seems to block your understanding. Swamiji, this world, no? What do you mean this world? कुछ है इधर. That's all. Just so that it's easier for Manda Madhyama Buddhis, no, to understand. It brings in the idea of Ishvara. And with the functioning world, if you have to explain the order, etc., that is in the functioning world, definitely all that will. Now remember, when you are saying functioning world, you are talking about the Mithya world. The functioning world is a Mithya world. So there is a role for Brahman there as Ishvara. Like how you have many roles in life, Brahman dons the role of Ishvara. He wears the robes of Maya and becomes Ishvara now. Chalo, I can deal with you all. You can deal with me. Settle accounts with me. You settle accounts with me, you have settled accounts with the world. प्यार से. प्यार से ब्रह्मन को ईश्वरा कहते हैं. That's it. Take it like that. So until you understand it, until you understand the truth, how long? Some time. I mean, how long will you take? I'm sure everyone has got insights into this right today itself. Insights have been there in this last 2 days. And you will keep working and building up more and more insights. So it seems to take some time until you can echo the Upanishad and says that is true. Satyam Jnanam Brahma. I am that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Nothing else. That's Swamiji, you are a teacher. Role. Sannyasi. Role. Peculiar role. Where you have dropped all roles. Father, brother, mother, sister. Roles. It's only what I do. Otherwise, I am much more. Much more. I am the limitlessness itself. And everyone can account that. Until you can account that, this is a necessity to live a life. Why, what else are you going to do anyway? You have to live a life. Your life can't be put on hold. Can you put your life on hold to understand this? If you can, well, आ जाओ, ऋषिकेश चले जाएगा. Put life on hold. But then if you put your life on hold and come to Rishikesh to understand that, you may find there is no need to pick up that life after that. No, Swamiji, I am not ready for that. Okay? If you are not ready for that, then somebody had asked a question. I will touch upon it now, and if it's not enough, I can elaborate that later. How do you live a life? Because we can be in a very peculiar situation where I have insights into the fact that I am that limitless consciousness, but it is yet to become a fact of my life. So many nuances has to be clear. I have to make this a fact of my life, etc. For that, things have to become clearer. So how do I live my life? Somebody in between has asked a question, why this manifestation? No, why it is there. You can give some reason. I'll tell you, from the standpoint of Ishvara, of Brahman, there is no reason. Really, there is no reason for the manifestation. Why does the ocean throw up the waves? No real reason, except maybe some wind, etc. Why is the ocean calm as a mill pond? That's how I am. So from the standpoint of Brahman or Ishvara, there cannot be a reason given. Because if you give a reason, that's a motivation. You are making Ishvara your uncle. Tauji. He is mighty, but he is still finite character because he has a reason for doing it. Correct? I have an uncle in Delhi, powerful figure. Lot of contacts is there. But there's only so much he can do. A time will come and he'll say, this I can't do. The grey beard is not listening to me. Grey beard is Amit Shah, okay? He's not listening to me. You can say that. So, from the standpoint of Ishvara, there is no reason. From the individual standpoint, I can give you a reason. That means, given you already as a manifestation there, you are an individual now. Okay? I am here. Okay? As a finite being, I am here. Now, for this finite being, there can be a reason for this whole creation. Why? You need to grow. You need to grow enough to understand that there is no creation. You need to psychologically grow. All growth is psychological, emotional. You need to grow. For growing, you need a tough school. A disciplined school. A school that can reward at the same time. Isn't it? Isn't that type of a school where you grow best? Guru is very dilla. You can do what you want. There is no reward, there is no punishment. You do your own thing. Where do you really grow? You need structure for growth. I always compare it to a martial arts school. Part of my background. Okay. Punch. You will block. You are learning to block. Growth. Block. Punch. Dilla. But if I punch you hard, then you will block hard. Why? Otherwise it gets you. Painful. So in a tough school you learn well. The block. Block. You learn. Yeah, punches like this, what will you learn? What are you doing? Punching. You are punching. You punch hard. That is it. So, this world is a tough school so that you can grow. Until handling of the world becomes effortless for you. Okay, you are a master now in that martial arts school. When the punch comes, you don't have to block. Why? You are not there. The punch goes into the air. Best defense for punch, you not there. The punch came to my face, punch went off. That requires a lot of anticipation and mastery. That's growth. Similarly, in life, it's a tough school that you are entered into to grow. Therefore, there is a reason for this manifestation as far as the individual is concerned, not as far as Ishvara is concerned. And for their growth, there is a lifestyle prescribed. If you can forget everything, put your life on hold to understand the truth, that's called sannyasa. Burnt your boats. Here, do or die attempt to gain moksha, which will work if you are psychologically prepared for it. For most people, it takes some time to reach there. So until you reach there, you live a life of karma yoga. That's why Ishvara Arpanam Prasada Buddhi that you have heard in all the classes. That's why Ishvara becomes even more important then. Because without Ishvara there is no karma yoga, there is no secular karma yoga. Sorry. Secular karma yoga at the most is something like your professional attitude. That's all, nothing more than that. Focus on the action, not on the result, etc. etc. But nobody does an action without focusing on the result anyway. So it's just management talk. I know, because we have talked all this in management lectures and workshops. It works up to a point. Up to a point it works, not more than that. To be process driven, those who are few are entrepreneurs in this thing, to be process driven, because the process is right, the end result will be right. But sometimes you may have to change the whole process. Why? Lockdown, nobody is buying cosmetics so much. But there is money in sanitizers, in gloves, in face masks. Change the process. That is smart, that is intelligent, that is growth. Because you are responding intelligently to a situation. So times are bad, but your life is good. There's a young girl here who has done that. That's why I'm saying it, okay? I know my students well, This is a great girl. She has done it well. If I say anything more, she'll get embarrassed. I'm not saying her name. Sensible. And if it had not worked out, Prasada Buddhi, Ishvara Arpanam, offer it to the Lord, Prasada. What happens? Because you could accept it as Prasada, you could change the whole thing, no? If you are tied up with your identity, no, I am a manufacturer of beauty products, nothing else. You couldn't change into sanitizers and face masks. Why? You're so caught up in that. No. Prasada, situation has changed. This is that situation right now. Therefore, in harmony with what Ishvara wants, I will do what I can. Result is Prasada. Acceptance is there of the situation. Proactiveness is there in terms of doing what I should do. Karma Adhikara it's called. Your Adhikara for Karma. And Prasada, you will accept the result. Result is pretty good. Even though times are bad. That's a great way to be. That's growth. And when the times become normal again, either the virus loses its steam and becomes like cough and cold. There was a time when cough and cold used to kill people, okay? Yeah, there was a time like that. Now it has just become cough and cold. You get it 2-3 times a year and you're okay. So either the virus becomes like that or you develop a vaccine for it. When times become back to normal, you can go back to the thing that you love to do. That's growth in life. Until your psychological growth has happened, your intellectual growth has happened, your priorities are taken care of, you are lived by life of priorities. That's all part of Karma Yoga. That's not the topic now, but I'm just touching upon it. And a time will come when your mind is so clear, this knowledge, this insights that you have gained, the insights that you have gained is converted into proper knowledge. It becomes steady. You get rooted in that knowledge. And when you are rooted in that knowledge, like Taranandagiri, you can say, Buddhi kaam nahi karta. Mast Ram Baba hoke baith gaya. Even in that situation, you can be happy. Or like Bhishma in the Mahabharata, roaring into battle. people fell like corn before a forest fire when he rode into battle. Ananda. My God, what ruthlessness. Yeah, when Bhishma fought, there was a ruthlessness about it. One battalion would fall to him every day. Can you imagine a whole battalion being wiped out by one man? But he was a wise person. Functioning as, hey, all wise people are not pacifists, okay? It depends on the role you are playing. If you are playing the role of a pacifist, fine, pacifism is fine for you. If you are a king or the power behind the throne, then to be able to ride into battle is the right thing for you. So he was ruthless as a warrior. As a warrior, you expected to be ruthless. But Anando, in spite of Ghora Karma, Ananda. He was like that. So it doesn't matter. Or take Krishna himself. Of course, Krishna is an avatar, you will make excuses. Whether he was with the gopis or he was on the battlefield. Smilingly he will make love, smilingly he will kill also. The smiling assassin. Shishupala. 100 insults I will forgive. 101st, your head is gone. Clear cut warning given. So 101st insult, with a smile, the Sudarshana Chakra goes and chops off his head. So whether he was with the gopis or on the battlefield, Anandoham. Or into people that we know, people like Tarandagiri, etc. Anando. Or like Puja Swamiji, my own guru. His kidneys were failing, lungs were half gone, heart was failing. He had decided to stop all treatment, but he would come and insist on a class, taking a class. And he was just teaching, he would sometimes slip into Samadhi, then come out and he will teach. Because the body was failing him. And I am telling all my Guru Bhais, this class is not for the public, this class is for you and me. Look at the brevity of words he is using. How someone who is used to the elaborateness of unfoldment is teaching with such brevity. Learn from that brevity. It is for us until his dying day. Dying day, body falls, he is one with the limitless consciousness. And people will come and ask him, Swamiji, how are you? And he would joke. I can't hear clearly, please say that loud now. Swamiji, how are you? Okay. I can't see very clearly, I can't hear very clearly, my kidneys have failed, my lungs are compromised, heart definitely is compromised, but I am fine. Why? You are Ananda. How can you not be fine? That is when you have that rootedness in the knowledge. For that you need rootedness in life first, and that rootedness in life comes from Karma Yoga. When you are not shaken by things, you can handle it. Therefore, Karma Yoga leads to growth, and the knowledge that you gain along with that lifestyle makes you into a realized soul. A wise person, one who knows the truth about himself and the world. Yeah, that is true. Even in that condition, 2015, when he was one step away from Samadhi, he would do things. What touched me most was the way he would teach. Yeah, with a fractured hand, he took a camp, everything, he did that. Yeah, Swami Chinmayanji was the same. He would walk up to teach, take a class, and his heart was compromised. I could see pain lines on the face. But when he sits in the class, he roars like a lion. Old lion, okay. Yeah, because that time he was in his late 70s or early 80s. Yeah. Don't worry, we are all getting there. So, good place to stop. If there are any questions, save the questions. I will see you all back maybe 5:15 in the evening today. The next two classes will be taken by Swamini. As she has just said, her power has come back. There was a short circuit in the night at 2 o'clock in the night, and the power went off. But she is back online. So that's why this change happened. That morning class I took so that she can take now. So the next two classes will be by her. Enjoy it. I'll see you all in the evening today. Okay? Okay. Yeah. Take care. Have a great time. Thank you all. I enjoyed being with you all. Thank you. I enjoyed being with all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Take care. Yeah, break now, 15 minutes. Hi. How are you? Okay. Everything back to normal at home? Okay, that means it was not a major issue. I really was wondering if it was major. Circuit breaker. Yeah, that's circuit breaker. Yeah. And because of that, it was easier. Yes. A lot of things got saved up. Okay. Oh. Oh, yeah, it'll reveal also, yes. Yeah. But that's quite creditable, he did it so fast. Oh, I completed the whole thing. I brought in a little bit of Karma Yoga also, because somebody asked how to balance out everything, how to live. So, I did a little bit of that Brahma Pucham Pratishtha, that part of it.